Good morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. And for those of you who didn't see the video, I'd like to introduce you to my friend up here behind me. This is my new bobblehead. Watch the video about the bobblehead, and I had a lot of fun making that video. So let's see who we have here today. I can get a quick AV check from those of you. Let me know, how does it look? How does it sound? And I will make any necessary adjustments on my end. Andy in the house. Good to see you, Andy. Michael Welsh is here as well. And no replay for me. I'm glad you're here live, sir. Appreciate it. Boss is in the house. Hi, Robin. Robin is here. Greetings from North Carolina, not too far. Beautiful state, North Carolina. Brian Park in the house. Trout of control. That's great. Yeah, Trout, grab yourself a brew, at 6 o'clock there, get whatever your favorite beverage is, my friend. Doesn't have to be high octane coffee. Gia Aquatics and Pets in the house. Angelo. Hey, Paul Newman here in Midwest Aquatics. Hi, Kathy Gunez. Good morning to you. And David Sanger is also in the house. And we have more people coming on. Rocky and Miles, DeMars. And let's see here. All right, they're piling in. And yes, let's rock, Angelo. Let's rock. Sundar. Hello, Sundar. Good to see you. Hello, Frank. A big thank you to my friend Frank Vera for some plants that he sent me. That's going to be mentioned in a live stream video. Agia says, AV, all good. Thank you. Thank you for that, my friend. I appreciate it. You never know until you know. So, a lot to go over today. And first off, I want to do a very quick shout out to the Patreons. My Patreon monthly supporters who have, I've had some recent new Patreons join in, and it is very, very appreciated. And details on becoming a Patreon is under the video in the description. Starts for as little as $3 a month, and it helps more than you know. It's going to be helping me to get over to Aquashella over in Daytona, and along with the help of Jerry Martin, who is providing me with housing. Very, very nice. Jerry Martin, one of the moderators here on the stream. Also, a big thank you to those of you who have visited my Teespring store and picked up T-shirts and mugs. I've noticed some activity there recently. Thank you so much to all of you who are doing that. And I'm trying to come up with a game, some kind of an incentive or a game that if I run into you at Aquashella and you're wearing a channel T-shirt, we can work out some kind of some kind of a giveaway. If you're wearing one of the channel shirts at Aquashella, that'd be kind of fun, I think. And we can hunt for each other. I'll be walking around randomly, so hopefully we'll bump into each other at Aquashella. That's in November at in Daytona. I'm also going to be speaking in September at the Music City Aquatic Association, and that'll be in September. More details as that develops. And tomorrow I'm going to be a guest on Salient Aquatics, and you can see Salient Aquatics channel here on YouTube. It's a smaller channel. He's getting it going, and if you haven't checked him out, check him out. Salient Aquatics on YouTube. I will be a guest on his channel tomorrow. So stop on by if you can, and let's help Jesse and his channel, Salient Aquatics. Let's help it grow. All right. One more quick announcement. Today's top chat is going to be getting some Sarah food, like this food here, this Vipan, very high quality food. Vipan food. I also have probiotic food. And so you'll be getting some Sarah. I'm also going to be including a special co-op sticker pack. What do we have in here? We have a stingray, beautiful ram, frontosa, betta. So, and if you'd like one of the holographic channel Cichlid and coffee stickers, I'll throw one of those in there too if you would like one. And it'll all be sent out. Yeah. Cichlids and coffee custom bag. Cichlids and coffee custom shipping bag. Limited edition until I order more. I have a lap video for you at the, I'll be playing a lap of the fish room for you. A video that I'm working on. I haven't quite finished it, but I'll give you the first rough cut, and you'll be able to see that. And then I want to talk with you about a couple of the issues that I bring up in the lap. I'm also going to do a big feeding. I'm going to feed the beasts behind me some frozen krill, and I'm going to feed the large South and Central cichlids. I'm going to feed them some bloodworms. I have a very picky green tear. He spits out any flake or pellet I put in there. For some reason, he spits it out. But he will eat. He'll eat bloodworms, and he'll eat some of those freeze-dried tubifex. I'll show them to you. Hold on. Watch the fish for a second. He'll eat this stuff like a maniac. These are freeze-dried brine shrimp cubes. And I also have I believe some of the worms too. But this freeze-dried stuff he goes crazy over. But for some reason, everything else. And so I have to include like a special feeding at least 3 times a week, maybe 2 times a week, or else the green tear his tummy will start to sink in. He just is not going to eat enough. Don't know why. Just a real picky eater. Maybe you folks have had picky eaters. If you have, I'd be curious to know how you addressed it. I do know that if you soak food sometimes in focus or a garlic type solution, that can help sometimes, but for some reason that hasn't been helping with him. So we'll do a big feeding, and we'll include some bloodworms for the green tear, and you'll get to see how that 210 gallon is doing. It's rocking and rolling since I reverted back to how it was set up originally. Let's take the giveaway off of there. All right. Big shout out to my channel moderators. And not sure if I have any in here right now. Oh, yeah, I do. Vibes Aquatics in the house. Thank you, Vibes Aquatics, for your help. And Cichlid Kings in the house. All right, so there are some moderators. Their job, of course, is to keep everything going smoothly and be on high troll alert. Make sure no trolls get in. So, so thank you, folks, for watching that bobblehead video. I wasn't really sure. Like, I don't know. Are people going to watch it? are people on a fish channel going to watch a bobblehead video? And I was pretty shocked at the response. It was pretty cool, actually. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't watched it, we'll share a link. I'm sure someone will share a link in the chat. Lady Diane in the house. Jeremy Moore has joined us. DeMars is here. Assimilate. Okay, assimilate. Love my discus. I vote for big fish. We're going to talk about that. I want to open that topic, our main topic today, big fish versus small fish. I really want to open that up to discussion. And I guess the question is if you prefer big fish or if you prefer small fish, why? Why do you prefer small fish? Why do you prefer big fish? That's what I want to know. I want to hear why is that the case? And I'd be curious to hear about that. Let me redirect the this microphone has a very limited range, so you almost have to have it right in front of your mouth. Is that sounding good? Someone said the sound is fading in and out. If that's the case, let me know in the chat now, and I'll be sure to stay close to the microphone. Boss, does size matter? Well, it's not really a matter of does size matter. It's more a matter of preference. I just want to know what do you prefer, and why? Why do you prefer that? That's what I'd like to know. Robert sees the bubblehead. Boss says the audio is good. Yeah, you just got to keep it close. I've thought about getting a shotgun mic, but I'll tell you the one thing about this is you folks probably don't know how noisy this fish room is. Between bubbles and a giant fan blowing air and occasionally the gardener shows up, you really don't know how noisy it is because this mic has it's set up to work within a certain range, and it's set up not to pick up a lot of the ambient sounds. The downside is if I move away from it, if I talk to you from this angle, you're gonna have a really hard time. So you got to stay like right on it. So anyway, a trade-off. That's one of the trade-offs. Boss, I understood the innuendo, and I laughed inside. All right. Finn Golfin, running late. Finn Golfin, you have to produce a note that is signed and verified. And thank you for showing up, my friend. David Glass in the house. Hi to you, my friend. Brian Park is here. TEW 1970 in the house. I prefer medium to large. Helps to fill the tank out more once you added plants and some color. Now that's an interesting point there. Having your tank, because you hate to look at a tank and you're straining. You're like, well, I know there's some fish in there somewhere. But let me look real hard. Sometimes you go to some of these channels and they have beautiful planted tanks. The focus and emphasis are the plants, the decor, the scape, and the fish are a little bit of almost like an afterthought. Like the fish are sort of like decor in the planted tank. And in my mind, I like, I like what you're saying there, because for me, the fish have to be the focus. They have to be the focus of the tank, and that makes a case. That makes a case for large fish. I mean, I could have probably 100 neon tetras in the tank behind me, and you'd probably look at it and go, "Yeah, I see some neons in there, but you still have a lot of room." Yeah. Brian Park headphone microphone. Yes, I do have a headphone jack I can use, and but I'm not using it now. And if things are working, I'm afraid to touch anything. Don't mess with anything. So, Jeremy Moore, I like both big cichlids and small fish. I have 3 tanks, a 20 long planted nano fish, 55-gallon planted, 90-gallon American cichlids. Well, there you go. So there's no reason why we can't enjoy both. But Jeremy, if you had to pick, if you let's say you moved into a place and you just didn't have the room. You just didn't have the room. You could only keep one. Which one are you going to keep? Which one of those tanks are you going to keep? And I'm just curious, why would you do that? Lady Diane. So fun to watch the minute movements. And I've got, I agree with you. I like watching in particular, and I guess these aren't really minute movements, but I really love small fish that will school, and especially under different circumstances where they kind of all bundle up and school around and move like one. And someone explained that to me, and they were talking about how what you have now is, instead of one fish with, vision in 2 directions, you have vision, almost 365-degree vision now, because they're schooling, and they all can dart around and avoid things with this sort of radar that the schooling produces, right? So now you have operating like a single organism with 50 eyes, 100 eyes, 1,000 eyes, instead of just 2 eyes. And so you can see the survival value of it. I love watching my red-tailed rasboras, the rasbora, the harlequin rasboras, the rummy noses, the way they hang out. Just love watching them. The neons, they're kind of like a shoaling. I mean, they all kind of hang out together in a bunch under some plants, but I don't really see them schooling necessarily. More like what you'd call shoaling. We're all going to hang out together. This is where we chill, but they don't really kind of swim as one, like the way the rasboras, the red tail, and the harlequin rasboras do, or the rummy nose. They tend to swim like one. Other fish in the tank, my planted aquarium, my smaller fish, the red serpas, the lemons, they pretty much, it's very rare that they'll be bunched up. They all are kind of solitary. And interestingly enough, the fish in the 90-gallon, the Buenos Aires tetras, were a very tight school when I moved them to the 90-gallon, and they were in a tank with much bigger fish, just like the silver dollars did and are still doing to some degree in the 210-gallon. When they feel threatened, they reverted to schooling, where they bunched up and stayed as a school. And then as they became more confident, like school let out and they started exploring independently as they became more confident. That hasn't happened in the 210. The silver dollars are still bunched pretty tight, but the Buenos Aires tetras are all over the 90 gallon. So they've become comfortable and confident, but the silver dollars haven't. They're still bunched up, and it's working because they're all in good shape. None of them have any fin damage, and so their schooling is working. Vibes Aquatics, thank you for that super chat, my friend, and for your promoting of thumbs up. And don't forget, the biggest super chat today, over $10, just to cover shipping. The biggest super chat today is going to receive a special sticker packet from the Aquarium Co-op, and I showed it earlier, and some Sarah food, all sent out in a special channel bag. So that'll be the biggest super chat today, over $10. All right, let's get back to today's topic. Thank you for that super chat, Vibes. And for those of you who arrived late, don't forget, I will be on Vibes Aquatics. Oh, I'm sorry. I will be on Salient Vibes. Salient Vibes. It's all. I'll be on Salient Aquatics tomorrow in a live stream. Come and join in, and let's help Salient build that channel. All right, so let's see here. I'm getting your comments on big versus small fish. If I miss your comment, please do not be upset with me. It just means I didn't see it. Yeah, that's the name of the video. Thank you, Cichlid Kings, for sharing that. I finally made it. Now I'm in the big league. Those of you who want to know the story about my friend back here, the bobblehead, my mini me. I have a mini me now. DeMars, you know, DeMars, I hate to admit it. But I'm right in there with you. And sometimes it isn't until I'm editing a video that I'll spot something going on with one of the fish that is very small. And I'll go, ooh, look at that. Freeze it, replay it, enlarge it. And so, yeah, as you get older, the bigger fish do hold a certain appeal. And as I go into my twilight years, simulate. I like big tanks. I like big fish in them. And of course, discus are so beautiful. I also enjoy the extra work. That would be my why. Interesting. I mean, certainly with bigger fish, because of the increased waste production, you're going to need more water turnover, which is an interesting dilemma, or challenge, I guess is a better word, when you have discus fish, because you really can't be blowing, 1,500 gallons per hour, through jets and turning over that water like crazy, because discus, just like angels, to some degree, eye biters, your severums, they don't like to be blown around. Betta fish, they just don't like to be blown around. It's very uncomfortable for them. So it's an interesting challenge to create that turnover. And this is where perhaps large hang-on back filters might be the desired, which is why my 90 gallon with those two large Marineland hang-on backs, those Emperor 400s, might just be the perfect discus tank. So just something something you made me think of. But boy, a large discus, which are very hard to, it's hard to get them to be that large. It takes a long time, a lot of fresh water, a lot of good food. And this is why they're so expensive, right? You pick them up at 4 inches, 3 inches, they're like $100. But to pick up one that, the 10 inch, the 9, the dinner plate size ones, those take years. And if you get a pair that have paired up, I mean, you're up to $200, $300, $400 in some cases, maybe more. But yeah, big tanks, big discus. Robert Egan, he enjoys them both. So do I, Robert. But same question for you. Same question for you, Robert. If you could only have one tank, what would it be? You got to choose. What tank would it be? Paul Newman, big fish, because they're easier to see with my old eyes. Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. Lady Diane likes the nano size. And I've seen some beautiful, beautiful nano tanks, beautiful scapes, with like lots of plants, a trail down the middle, and all of a sudden you see these little galaxies, little school of embers come by, and very, very pretty, very pretty. A few autocyclists, right? And doing some of the algae work. I mean, just really, really nice. And so I have seen some beautiful presentations with the in the nano. And nano tanks have become very, I understand why they're becoming so popular, especially with the easy setups that you can get, right? Like you pick up something like a Fluval Flex, in a smaller size. I mean, they have so many smaller tanks now that are just sort of almost like a plug and play. And you're away you go with a beautiful nano tank. So let's see. Vibes Aquatics, I think the focal point for me is going to be fish. But, in different communities, you're going to get different answers. And you'll get beautiful tanks. I mean, I don't do it personally, but I love looking at coral, at reef tanks. These folks that are reefers, unbelievable. And if you've checked out Inventory King, he stops by every now and then. He used to be pretty active on YouTube, but he's gone into salt and corals and soft corals, right? And I just love looking at those kinds of tanks. Will I ever get into those? I don't know. I don't think so. There's a chance. There's a chance I might. For those of you tuned in late, stay tuned for a feeding of the big fish. And also I have a pre-release, not the final video, but a pre-release that is still going to be a bit refined before posted of the lap of the fish room that is coming up. Metsicali Fish Keeper is lurking. Don't let him catch you watching the live stream. Don't get in trouble. Trout of control. I think I'd go with bigger fish. In general, I'd say they show more individually interesting behaviors. More personality. For those of you who watched the bobblehead video, the Oscars were completely enthralled. I mean, every time I do something, they would come down. It was almost like they were just staring at that bobblehead, and you don't really get that with smaller fish. Smaller fish are more skittish. They're more flighty. They It's very rare. Like in my planted tank that I'm staring right at as I do the live stream, the electric blue acaras interact. They come to the glass and they'll interact. They act a little bit like a mini Oscar. All the other fish, they bug out. They head for the back corners. They go under the driftwood, into the plants. They don't like interacting that much. But the electric blue acaras, they're like little baby Oscars, and very cute because of it. But yeah, that interaction, the idea of a water puppy, after I put the red tear back into the 55-gallon, I'm back to hand feeding him, and he'll watch me and tilt up and kind of like follow my hand around and wait for me to drop each pellet in the tank, and he's just a water pup, just a big water puppy. Boss, harder to net and lose a large angel than a neon tetra. It's being able to work with the fish in the area of netting and things like that, catching them. I'll tell you something. I mean, that being said, for those of you who have African cichlids, African cichlids are very, very smart and very hard to catch. And they'll outguess you. They'll move to different parts of the tank and figure out, like if you have a tank, like this tank behind me has 3 openings. It's 7 feet across, 33 inches from front to back. So really hard to get to the back areas. And so it's 33 inches front to back, 24 inches tall, right? And 7 feet across with 3 openings. So I use these large nets, and it doesn't take them that long to figure out where can't he get me. And sometimes I'll get so frustrated, I'll pull the decor out and I'll lower the water level so that it makes it very hard for them to, but lowering the water level in a 200-gallon tank, I mean, you're 225 gallons down before it makes a huge difference. It's a big process. And then you've got, an hour to fill it, 2 hours to fill it. So anyway, I get it. Catching them, that's gonna make a difference. All right, so let's keep going here and see what you have to say. Cruise Aquatics in the house. I have a 5, a 55, a planted community, tanks with smaller fish. I like watching the fish school and the variety I can keep in the tank. Well, it's certainly with community fish. And I would say you do. I'd say you have a good point there, because you have such an enormous amount of fish, if you have the space, of course, that you can put into a community tank, as opposed to your more aggressive cichlid tanks. You have to really watch what you put in and monitor it closely and put it in following a very specific protocol, right? Feed them, lights out, drop them in, watch them closely, for several hours. I mean, there's a certain protocol you follow when you drop a new aggressive fish into an aggressive tank. And as opposed to if I had, let's say, another 10 neons I want to put into that tank and they're out of quarantine, I just plop them in. They join up with the rest of the neons and business as usual. Not a worry in the world, right? And there's something to be said for the impact on your blood pressure that those 2 different procedures have. So I get it. Vibes Aquatics, size of fish depends on what size the aquarium. And again, of course, I mean, if all you can keep, if all you have size for is, you know, the only footprint you can have in your house is for a 29 gallon, that's going to limit your choices. Of course, makes sense. Well, Andy took the plunge and bought a cichlid. It's true. Once you fall in love with them and how they interact, their colors, their crazy behaviors, their interaction, you can get pretty hooked on them. It's easy to get very hooked on them. Now, that being said, you're going to need bigger tanks, more filtration, more frequent maintenance. You're going to be on the alert for aggression. You're going to need more food. And so there's also, so you have not just a space factor, but an energy consumption factor, a cost factor, and all of these things go up dramatically with large fish. And so just something to keep in mind. But if you get the bug, it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard not to stay addicted to them. Vibes Aquatics likes frontoses. And frontoses, of course, get huge and they grow very slow. They live about, 30 years, I think, 20 to 30 years, frontoses in captivity. But you will need eventually, ideally, 125, 6 foot across tank and, 125 or larger, preferably larger. Brian Misway. Brian Misway is having a problem with a recent transition. Brian, did you bring over decor, substrate, filter material from the old tank? He's using stability. And prime. Yeah, I'm did you bring over some water from the old tank? I mean, when I do a transfer, even though the water doesn't really contain any real significant beneficial bacteria, but I bring it over for pH purposes. And so I'll bring over some of the water from the old tank. I'll bring over some of the decor if I can, if it fits the scheme. I'll bring over substrate, certainly some filter material from the old tank. Things like that. But, it's Popeye. I'd suggest adding some salt. Maybe some salt, a tablespoon dissolved in a cup of water for every 5 gallons. That could help. I've had that work with some swelling that I had once with an autopharynx tetrastigma. But anybody that can help Brian with that question, go ahead and chime in on the chat, and let's help Brian out. For those of you who tuned in late, we have some new Patreon members. And I'd like to thank all the Patreon members for their ongoing monthly support. It is very, very helpful. And Adam, Noel, Kent, and Doug, thank you so much for becoming Patreon members. Very, very appreciated. Details on how to become a monthly Patreon supporter are are under the video. Also, we are doing a giveaway today for today's largest super chat. We'll be getting a packet of stickers from the Aquarium Co-op, along with some Sarah food and some real pretty stickers. I have them all over my refrigerator. And you can get also a holographic channel sticker if you'd like one. That's for today's largest super chat, over $10. $10 being the threshold to help cover the shipping and the 30% hit I get from YouTube. Back in the day, anything over 20% was considered mafia. Those were the rates of the mafia. But now 30%, you'll see that on a credit card, 33% interest. Used to be a mafia rate. So while I'm on the topic, just a very quick little rant. I don't rant that much, but just a quick rant. When I do a live stream and it posts, it uploads so that people can watch it on a replay, I just want you folks to know it's taking YouTube almost an entire day to process and do whatever it is they do to that video so that I can get in there and make some changes. So during that first day, the intro is longer. In other words, the water, the ocean shoreline intro is longer than it should be because I'll shorten it if I get a chance to edit. And YouTube will automatically default like 20 advertisements, like one every 3 minutes. Now, who's going to watch a video that has an advertisement every 3 minutes? So I have to get in there, take out all of their advertisements and put one in like every 10, 15 minutes. And, but it takes like an entire day before I can get in there and edit a live stream. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is making it, when I'm done with the live stream, making it unavailable, making it unlisted until I can get in there and edit it and then list it, which means folks watching the replay wouldn't be able to watch it until sometime Sunday. So come on, YouTube. You've got the computing capacity. So come on now. So anyway, short little rant there. Nothing real big. All right, let's see here. I can hear my gardener outside. If you can't hear him, that's what I was talking about earlier with the microphone. It will cut out things above and beyond certain decibels, so it sort of cuts out that ambient, that background noise. Love my wet pets. Hello, my friend. Good to see you here. And increasing the pricing described to you. Well, it's that is how YouTube makes the money. You know, they play ads, and you know, full disclosure, if you're watching one of my videos and it has more ads in it, ultimately I would make a little bit more. Instead of 2 cents, I'll make maybe 2.5 cents. But I don't like it. I don't like watching videos where there's an ad every 2 minutes. I just don't like it. What really drives me crazy is if I'm watching an artist like, you know, you're watching Chris Stapleton doing the national anthem, and right in the middle, you know, you get a PetSmart commercial. It's like, come on, you know, you're right in the groove, you're enjoying the heck out of it, and anyway. All right. End of rant. Jeremy Moore, if I could pick one, it would be my 55-gallon planted tank. I have giant Danios, rainbow fish, red-eye tetras, and 2 golden wonder killifish, 4 denison barbs, 1 electric blue acara, and 1 jewel in the tank. Wow. You know, I wouldn't know, Jeremy, which one of those fish would you call your centerpiece? Those are beautiful fish. The giant Danios, of course, are going to be very, very active. And They remind me a little bit of zebras, the way they're constantly moving around. The same family, I guess. Right? Perhaps. So that's a great combination of fish, Jeremy. Maybe if you send a short video of that tank to ben.o.cichlid. I'd love to share share that tank with everybody. Just play it during one of the live streams. That could be fun. Send it to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. I'd love to share it. So I promised you a couple things, a big feeding at the end of the live stream. I also promised you a lap of the fish room. I'm going to go ahead and give you your lap of the fish room, and then we'll come back, pick up any other questions or comments about the lap. There are some topics in the lap that I want to talk with you about and get your advice on, and you'll see that once we get into the lap. Love my wet pets. Thank you so much for that. I have a 125 gallon that used to be housed by Africans. I know. I used to watch your channel when you had that beautiful big African cichlid tank, and I think you just got tired of the aggression. You were a loss to the African cichlid community, but you're a lot happier now, and I think that's what counts. Spoiled Sushi. Oh, what a great name, Spoiled Sushi. I pay for no commercials, and it's been great, but they are now raising it $2 in September. Love the Saturday love. Thank you so much, Spoiled Sushi. And if you're today's largest super chat, please be sure to send me your name and mailing address to ben.o.cichlid, and I will send you some Sarah food and a sticker pack from the Aquarium Co-op. I'll send you one of my own stickers, and I'll send it in one of my limited edition, until I order more, channel bags. Thank you, Spoiled Sushi, for that, and I love your channel name. All right, let's see here. This is a first showing of the lap. Now the Patreons had access to this already, and some of the Patreon members get early access. But here's a lap of the fish room, and please let me know what you think in the chat, and during the lap, I'll be watching the chat. Here you go. Well, you gotta love it when things are working out, and some recent changes here in the fish room are actually doing just that. They're working out, and the results are good. So this is going to be a bit more cheerful than the last fish room update that I shared with you, and we'll start with those beautiful electric blue Ocharas that are living their best life and really blossoming in the 55 gallon planted tank. Let's go ahead and start there and work our way around the fish room. There he is. This is definitely the most dominant of the two electric blue Ocharas that I brought over. Beautiful fringe on the on that dorsal fin. Great color in the body. The subdominant one is in here somewhere, probably hiding underneath that log there, but oh nope, there he is right there. Not sure if it's a male or a female, but what's happened is that since this one's come over, it's also gotten a bit of a orangey fringe on the dorsal fin, so it's kind of blossoming as well. They don't seem to be harassing the other fish one bit. All the other fish continue to thrive. So this move was a good one. All the other fish in here are doing well, as you can see, including my gaggle of neons down there, about 15 of them. And a big shout out to Frank Vera, a friend of mine in Puerto Rico, who sent me over a shipment of plants taken from his aquarium. And I'm not even going to bother trying to give you the name or pronounce the name of these plants. They are the bronze variety. Of this particular type of plant. I'll just list the name here on the video for you, but thank you so much, Frank, shipping these plants all the way from Puerto Rico, and here they are thriving in my aquarium. Very, very appreciated. Again, we are part of the best community around. When you look at different communities out there, certainly the fish keeping community is exceptional. Another move that was recently made was bringing over the red tear, putting him back in the 55, and I'll wait for him to come out of that cave, and you can see his body looks great. His fins have healed from some of the little tattering that occurred in the battles in the 210, and he's just looking spectacular. Certainly loves his cave. If you don't have caves in your aquarium, I suggest trying a few. I got mine from Unique Underwater Galleries. But I love the rummy noses. Look at these rummy noses, how they school and how pretty they are. But I picked mine up at Unique Underwater Galleries, highly recommended. And you'll be surprised who will gravitate toward the cave and take up residency. I mean, I didn't, you don't see that often in fish descriptions, like be sure to provide caves for this fish. But that Salvini in the 210, and certainly this red tear love caves. Here's the 90 gallon, and the fish in here are active, colorful, but I've noticed a few little pits on the forehead of the Syriaminensis, and I am going to be treating this tank with a regimen of Paracleanse that was sent to me by the aquarium co-op. So I'm just going to go ahead and bomb this tank with Paracleanse, because it is effective with hole in the head, and if that's the beginning of some hole in the head, I want to go ahead and hit it right now. There's a feeding hole here in the top of this aquarium, if you can make it out there. And what I was doing is I was using this thing here I would drop this in there so that the food would not go everywhere. And it's entirely possible that the fish might have just been hitting themselves against the edge of this in trying to attack the food. So that may be what's going on with the little marks on their heads, but I'm not going to take a chance. I'm going to go ahead and hit the tank with some medication. I don't want to take a chance and risk it getting worse. I imagine once it gets to a certain level, it's not going to be reversible. I've had these fish for a very long time. A couple years, some of the first fish I actually received when I got here to Nashville. The Buenos Aires tetras continue to do well in here. Very, very active. Behind the 90-gallon, we have this 29-gallon hospital tank, quarantine tank. Nothing really new to report here, except that the little bumblebee platies are looking really good and are just about ready to come over to the live bear tank. Eating well, active, great fin displays, great color. So I'll be bringing them over shortly. You'll notice in several of the tanks these hanging, they actually are with like a float. Like if you fish, you know what a float is. So there's a little bubble float at the top, and then an adjustable line. You can make it longer or shorter with that little black adjustable bead right there. But it's just a very easy, simple way to feed the fish zucchini or cucumber. That Siamese algae eater loves cucumber. So you'll see those in several of my tanks. They're from a company called ZooMed. This is the live bear tank, and of course anytime I look at this tank, they think it's time to eat. So you'll notice lots of activity, lots of color. And again, one of those floating feeders in here. I have a pleco, and everybody kind of picks at it. We come over to the betta tank. You can see him back there. Come on out, don't be shy. Very pretty betta. This side continues to remain empty. Not really empty, I have some coolie loaches and some plecos on this side. But I might be using it as a holding tank. I might just pull the plants out of it, the Anubias, pull the Anubias out of it, and the Sprite, and move it over to this, all of it to this side for the betta to play with. And then I'll use this as just a holding tank for some fish that that I believe the cichlid shack is going to be sending over to me. But this betta is looking beautiful. As you can see, and he has built just an absolutely gigantic bubble nest, like the mother of all bubble nests. Always a good sign when they're building a bubble nest. Being a tough guy. He has a pleco in there with him. None of the coolie loaches are on this side. But he seems to be doing well. Looking for the betta on the other side, who is now gone. Let's go over to the 300-gallon. Here's the long view of this tank. I always love the long view of a tank. This tank, of course, is 7 feet wide and 300 gallons, and everybody is currently getting along fine. As long as I stay on top of the filling in the pits that are built by the boss of this tank, which is without question the Malawi trout. As long as I fill those in, which I just did another one right here. He was building a pit right there and pairing up with the sand diver. So as long as I keep those filled in, everybody gets along fine. And for some reason, this sand diver is the one that does the breeding dance with the trout. And when that's going on, all the other fish just stay on the right side of the tank. You can see everybody's fine now. There's no stress in here until the next pit gets built, but I'll be right on top of it and fill it in right away. That trout is just a big horn dog. Always wants to be ready in case a female shows up. Let's go over to the 210. I think this bobblehead is so funny. I like the way they made me look so thin. Recent changes in the 210 have completely normalized everything. And by normalized, what I mean is the fish are acting the way they were acting before. They're active, they're moving around. The albino Oscar was very, very subdued and really acting very much afraid and hanging out at the bottom, laying on his side. I mean, I thought he was in big trouble. And I think he was just being harassed by the red tear. Now he's swimming around, buddied up with the red tiger, Oscar, like they were doing before. So that's much better. No one's messing with this beast. Silver dollars are doing okay, despite an occasional chase by the Nicaragua. Beautiful fish. Salvini is a bit more active, but not in the constant attack mode that she was in when I had the red tear over here. The Cichlids fins are healing up very quickly, and both of them no longer have that shredded look that they had just a few weeks ago, or just actually more like a week ago, really. Healed up very, very fast. And I think the Cichlids were being harassed also by the red tear. Some of you asked, why didn't I just take the cave out and leave the red tear in here? And it was because the red tear was getting hit by the Salvini, which you can see right here. But the red tear was harassing other fish, and so it was sort of the greatest good to go ahead and take the red tear out. Now you remember the way the fins looked on this fish in the last update. Completely different now. Almost 100% healed up. So there you go, a full fish room update. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Any tips, suggestions, you know I listen. And I hope to see you on Saturday at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. That's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central. That's 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And if you'd like to help the channel along, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, thumbs up, hit that bell, and if you're so inclined, support the channel further by becoming a member of the Garage Gang, a Patreon monthly supporter. All the details are in the description below the video. Thank you, my friends. You are very appreciated, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Very soon, like right now. So it shocked me. It shocked me at how quickly the fins of the chocolate cichlids went from being totally tattered to actually looking really, really good. I mean, I'm looking at them right now, and it's just amazing how fast they heal. Now, there's a lot of, I do top-offs and water changes and vacuuming in that tank, so there's a lot of fresh water. I'm sure that's contributing to it, but just amazing, the difference and how fast it actually, when you remove the 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 source of the aggression, how fast they heal up, and how quickly they change in behavior when the aggression has stopped. So I promised you a feeding. Let's go ahead and do a feeding. I'm going to turn off some of the spotlights so that you don't get as much reflection on the tanks. And then let's drop some food into the 300-gallon and the 210-gallon aquariums. Yes, those are Christmas lights. It's funny because I feed these guys, and the fish in the 210, maybe they actually saw what I was doing or something, but they're splashing around like crazy. So they know something's up. See, that green tear loves the worms. Doesn't spit those out. All right. There was your feeding. Let me go ahead and move the camera back. So a couple comments off of the lap. I hope you enjoyed that lap. And yeah, it was an after dark feeding. The if I leave these lights I have on for the live stream, it's just all you see is what you see behind my head here. You just see a whiteout, just a bunch of glare. So so one of you mentioned potassium on the using potassium, and I was checking. I do use some of this Easy Green, and I do use the root tabs as well, the co-op root tabs, and I'm not sure if the root tabs would do much for the anubias. I mean, I imagine what they release would be absorbed primarily in the substrate, but some of it must get into the water column. And it has phosphates, potassium, magnesium, iron, molybdenum, and zinc. And the Easy Green, has potash, which is potassium nitrate, and potassium phosphate. So 2 types of potassium. So, I mean, do you think I need to up the dose of this for those anubias to add more potassium? At the same time, it has phosphate, and I'm using phosphate pads to remove the phosphate to control some of the black algae. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. So, any tips, any comments? Do let me know. We do learn from each other. I do learn more from you than you learn from me. I assure you of that. So, yes, the bobblehead is very detailed. They worked with me on it where I kept turning it down. I kept saying, no, that doesn't look like me. It doesn't look like me. And if you do order one from them and they send you the proof, don't compromise. If it doesn't look like you, just tell them it doesn't look like you, and they'll keep working on it until they capture your essence. Console Brightwell Florin K. Okay, Brightwell Florin K. I'll look into that. I used to use Brightwell blocks in my some of those Brightwell blocks in my sump years ago. So I like the Brightwell company. So I'll check out some of their Brightwell Florin K. I'll look that up. Now on the hole in the head, have any of you ever dealt with hole in the head? Did it look like what you see on those Surimanensis? And do you think this is going to be effective? I mean, it says on the packet specifically for, and it lists hole in the head. I mean, this is like little pits that grow, that are very obviously very slow growing, don't seem to be affecting the behavior of the fish, very active, eating well, colorful. Only on the 2 Surimanensis. Fortunately, I don't think I see them on the AC Hecali or the Severums. But if you have had experience with hole in the head, let me know. And Now, somebody says that they're using the tabs once a month. I put tabs in. I put the plant tabs when I first set up the planted tank. Now, what is that? Several months ago, a while back, and I haven't replaced them. So I guess it stands to reason that they would eventually just simply get absorbed, worn out. And so maybe it's time to push a few more tabs in there. So that's a good point. I appreciate that. I'll see you, Cichlid Kings. Have fun running some errands. Last weekend, I was caught in a honeydew list that took me about 2 days. Oh, some assembly required. The 3 words, most dreaded words by most husbands. Let's see here. Jay Tonus in the house. Sup up, fishy. Sup. What's up? I guess that's what that means. Fishy people. Glad you're here, Jay Tonus. Whipswirl says massive multiple water changes. Yeah, I keep that tank, which is and that's what's kind of frustrating to me to see that Whip, to see that show up, because this tank is very, very clean, very pristine, and it's maintained very, very well. So I don't know if it's the constant stress of the two of them picking on each other, which has dropped significantly since I put the Buenos Aires tetras in there as a dither fish. But I do 20 to 30% water changes once a week. Maybe I'll kick it up to 60%, 70% for a few weeks and see if that makes a difference. Or maybe double up the 30, 40% changes. All right, let's see here. Any other questions? Go ahead and hit me now before we wrap up. Looks like we're actually almost 20 minutes over on the hour. And if you did have the largest super chat today, over $10, be sure to send me your mailing address, your full name and mailing address. I will get out a packet of food and stickers, and I'll send it to you in one of my special bags. And send your mailing information to ben.o.cichlid at gmail.com. So Whip's World, the hole in the head that your Oscar had, it actually cleared up. He actually fully recovered after your water changes, 70% water changes. That would be very, very cool. And because if you can skip the antibiotics, that would be even better. Ultimate Noob wants some help with nano scratches. Unfortunately, unless you empty it down to the level of the scratch and then get in there and buff them, and usually to buff them out right, you're going to need to use certain kinds of for lack of a better word, abrasives. They're not really super abrasive. They're just a way of buffing out a scratch on glass. And you don't really want to use that necessarily in a tank where you have fish. So, because it can be very toxic to the fish. So if they really bother you, you're probably going to have to empty the tank, move the fish into a tub, and and do the whole process, and then really rinse the heck out of the tub, let it sit for a while, and then refill it. If you really stay on top of algae, because usually those nano scratches don't show up unless they get a little bit of an algae growth in them. And so just using a very light, when I cut filter pads to custom fit the plastic frames that go into my hang-on back filters, my Marineland, I always have little strips left, and I just use those to lightly clean the inside of the tank. And if you buff those nano scratches and get the algae out of them, very often they'll pretty much disappear. They really show up if they get a little bit of algae growing in them. And algae, it's the perfect area for algae to grow. I don't know why, but it has something to hold on to. So keep the algae out of there. Council, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked the stream. And any other last minute questions? And if not, yes, Whip, send me a picture. I'd love to see it. And I think when we're done here, I think I'll give that 90-gallon a big water change and see how they do instead of, I mean, I'd rather not use the meds. The meds don't, according to Corey and according to the companies, the meds don't necessarily kill the beneficial bacteria. That's what they say. But you do have to take out if you have any kind of resin chemical filtration, right? Like Pyrogen, something like that. Charcoal, activated carbon, anything like that. You got to pull it out, treat, finish the treatment, and then put activated charcoal in there. Run it for about a month and then toss it so it sucks up the residual meds. So if I can avoid that process and fix it with big water changes, I'd rather do that. So thank you for that, Whip. I appreciate that. And yes, send me a picture. And if you do get a bobblehead made, I definitely want to see your bobblehead, especially what they do with your beard. That would be very interesting with your hair and with that look you've got going on. I definitely would like to see what they do with your bobblehead. Now, sometimes, interestingly enough, fish will scratch your glass. If you folks remember, IFG was a big time YouTuber, and his fish were picking up some pretty large substrate and spitting it into the glass. And I used to joke with him about how they were writing out a graffiti. They were writing a message. Somehow it said help or something. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. You are the best. You rock, my friends. And I hope you enjoyed today's live stream. I will see you folks next week, same time. And I will catch you all tomorrow at Salient Aquatics, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Mountain, for a collaboration there. And that's it for me. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you next week. And never forget, you're the best. You rock. Bye-bye.